Hey guys, it's Nicole. I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about a book. So I had been making videos about books that I didn't really love, like I felt like they were missing something for me personally, but this video is going to be different. I wanted to make this video because I read this book this year, only a few months ago, and it really impacted me. And so I wanted to share it, and I wanted to share my thoughts. And I'll kind of give a little bit of insight into what the book is, but there's a lot of spoilers that kind of involve really giving any detail about it. So we're just going to get into it, and I will let you know as soon as I get to spoilers. But this video is going to be about this. It is a book called I Who Have Never Known Men. And I picked up this book when I was in a bookstore I'd never been in for the first time because I love checking out new bookstores. Don't get me wrong, I love getting my books from Barnes & Noble, but I also enjoy going to libraries and other small like locally owned bookstores, and that is what happened here. So I picked up this book because the title was very interesting to me. And of course, the cover. I mean, look at how simplistic, but also kind of intriguing the cover is, because there's a ladder going into a hole. But it's all very like two-dimensional. Like the shapes are all very just flat. And so it's kind of a very thought-provoking picture. Like, why is the cover like this? So the title and the cover really drew me in. And it's a pretty short book. I honestly read this pretty fast. But it's by Jacqueline Hartman. She is a French woman, I think, or Belgian. I know it has it somewhere. Okay, she was born in Belgium. Okay, she spoke French, was French, but born in Belgium. So close to each other, is very, very similar. And this book's been translated many times. It was actually first published, I want to get the time right because I don't remember off of the top of my head, but it was first published in the 90s. I thought that's what I was thinking. And then it's been translated and published again several times since then. And I'm just going to read the back of the book, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. So the back of the book. Deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage. Watched over by guards, the women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night and numberless years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above ground. And that's it. That's the back of the book. So you can bet when I read the back, I was like, well, I gotta read this. Like, what? It sounds kind of sci-fi. It sounds kind of drama, and it's both. So this is kind of a science fiction, kind of a drama. It's exactly what it is. 40 women are imprisoned in a cage underground. The guards, we keep constant watch on them. They have guards that shift in and out, and there is always at least 4 guards that have their eyes on the women at all times. That means at all times. When relieving themselves, when sleeping, when eating, there is no such thing as privacy in that cage underground. So yeah, obviously pretty awful, horrific, but it's interesting because the thing about this book that you may hate or like is that it's not about the resolution at the end. When you finish the book, it's not about how the book ends, and it's not about all of the questions that you have and have them answered, because honestly, this book is more about thought. It's kind of more philosophical, to be honest. It makes you think. It really makes you think. So if you're not looking for a really heart-wrenching think piece, you may want to put this off. But it is a good book. It's very good. It was very dark, and immediately after I finished it, I went and read like a cute, happy, ends perfectly rom-com book. Emily Henry, to name one of the perfect ones who writes like that. But that's the kind of book it is. It's a think piece. It's philosophical, and it's made to put you in the experience of the young girl that they mention on the back of the book. And it's very dark. It's very, very dark. This particular book it's the reason it's not so hopeless to read is because there is hope. Because throughout the book, and I think is in human nature, there's always hope. Whether or not that hope pans out, I'm not going to say because that's a spoiler. But it's still a dark book. And the thing that makes it slightly less dark is that there's hope. So I personally read this book and felt a lot of very deep, sad feelings, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it really made me think, and it really impacted me, honestly. And I am so happy I read it. I don't know if I could read it again. It was heartbreaking enough to read it the first time. I don't know if I can make it through a second time, even knowing what's happening, because, you know, while it's happening, it's like, I can't. It's like the characters, I just can't. It's not a spoiler to say that, because on the back it literally says they're in prison in a deep underground cage. Like, you're already starting at the bottom, so it's already heartbreaking. That's not a spoiler. So, yeah. I'm going to go into spoilers now, because that's kind of my thoughts on the book without giving away any spoilers. So if you are interested in reading this book, definitely go into it with that mindset, because it's dark. But I think it's important for any single person from any culture all over the world to read. And there's translations of this. So, like, it wasn't originally written in English, and I read it in English. You can tell it's been translated. I love reading translated books, because you're like, oh, okay, that sounds a little funky, and so you're like, okay, that was very much not what it said in the original language is French, because that's just how translations are. There's no exact words for every single language, but there are translations out there, and they still, I think, get the message across, because that's the point. So I do think it's a good thing to read. I really, really recommend it. You know, I think the people that should read it the most are probably not going to read it, but hey, can't make anyone do anything, right? So that's all for the first part of the video without any spoilers. So I am going to go into spoilers now. So if you really don't want any spoilers, which honestly, it was kind of fun without the spoilers, so you might want to go into it without spoilers, you should close the video now. So if you're leaving, thank you so much for watching, and we're going to get into spoilers right now. So the book does come from the narrative of the young girl that they mention on the back of the book. And I think she was a young child. I think she was maybe, the thing is, in this book, there's no specific ages or anything like that, because the women's identities have basically been stripped from them. She doesn't even really have a name. She actually, you know, they didn't know her name when they first were thrown together in the cage, and so they ended up calling her, I just want to make sure I get it correctly, because I don't want to, they end up calling her, I think it's Child, because she doesn't actually have a name. All of the other women that were taken were at least teenagers or young adults when they were taken, and older, because there's 40 of them, and one of them is the young girl. So they all knew their names when they were taken because they had lives before, and it even says on the back that all they have left is their memories from their life before. But what's particularly heartbreaking here is this girl was not born into this situation, but taken at such a young age that she doesn't know her name. She doesn't know how old she is. And they, in the cage, have no idea how much time is passing because they don't keep clocks in there. The guards, like, have them underground, and they turn the lights off when it's bedtime and turn the lights on when it's time to wake up. And it's, I think, important that the book is told from her perspective, you know? Because the others have their memories. And even though it also feels very cruel to be taken and imprisoned in a time, a place, and you have everything stripped from you except your memories, and so now you're suffering and miserable and all you have is your memories, it still feels like they have more than she does, because she doesn't even have that. All she knows, all this young girl knows, is the cage underground. That's it. That's been her life as she remembers it. Now, the interesting part of this book is that they don't tell you where this place is, and they talk about how the women tried for so long to figure out where they were and how they were taken, but they don't even really remember. They just remember a commotion going on, and then obviously they were taken and then placed in those cages. And, you know, over the years, like, they've come up with, I'm still looking for the name because I just want to make sure I'm correct. Over the years, they've created, like, routines, and, you know, it's like, oh, this is how they cook things, because the guards just, like, provide them the food, and then it's their job to cook and everything. And so they have a routine figured out, you know, after all these years of being down in the cage, which they have no idea how long they've been in the cage because they have no way of keeping track of time. They had no way of keeping track of time. And I'm pretty sure they call her child. I can't find where it says it. I swear that it says it somewhere, but I cannot for the life of me find it, but I'm so positive that they call her child. And the only reason that matters is because she literally has no identity. They've stripped her of her identity, and all she's called is child. Even when she becomes an adult, and that's just what she goes by because that's what she was called her whole life. And it just feels so, that's why it's such a heart-wrenching book, because all of it is cruel. You know, these are characters in a book, so this particular situation is not real, but it's still so heartbreaking, you know? That's why I think it's important to read books like these. You're in the mindset of the person, and it's fiction. Fiction is so important to read. It puts you in the mindset of another person. I saw that online recently, and I was like, that's a really good idea. It builds empathy. But the reason this book made me think so much is because they answer no questions. This book ends with more questions than you start the book with. They don't answer a thing. You have no idea where they are, how they got there, why they're there. None of it. You have absolutely none of that information. And it's meant to be that way, because the truth is that as the women die, because I'm not going to go into how things happen in the book. If you're interested enough, you can read it yourself. But as the women die, they've escaped the cage. It's a whole thing. But as the women die and they lose hope and they'll never see their homes again, the point of the book isn't the answers. It isn't where they are, because at this point in the book, when they escape, they suspect that they're not on Earth. So they have no idea how they got there. Because the answers are not the point. The point is the suffering they went through and the fact that they lived out their lives on this alien planet, because it is alien, definitely not Earth, and never themselves knew why they were taken, why they were put into that situation in the first place. And I think it's really important. And I think that that's really important. And the reason that it's really important from this book and from this particular author, and I'm going to read a little bit about the author here because I want to make it clear as to why it's important. Jacqueline Hartman was born in Etterbeek, Belgium in 1929. Her family fled to Casablanca when the Nazis invaded. If I get censored for that, whatever. And only returned home after the war. And it goes into her education. So think about that. Think about who she is. And the fact that her family had to flee during the war in Europe, World War II. There's a connection here between that experience and this book. People taken, their identities stripped from themselves. And I think there's something else about the book being about the 40 women, because it's not a group of people all over the place. It's women specifically. And I think there's something there too. And I think that's another thing that makes it very, very, very interesting. So that's what this book's about. It's about what happened back then in Germany and Europe. What happened to people. And there are people out there that will deny it happened. But it did happen. And this book is a very beautiful way to convey even a fictional version of what happened to people. So I think it's a very important read, especially with what's happening in my country right now. So I recommend this book. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough. It is dark. And it does require you to get into the mindset that this is going to be a hard book to read. But I think those are sometimes the best books. And that's my opinion. Because they make you think, they make you feel. And that's like the whole point of being human, isn't it? So I think it's a really good read. And I think if you haven't read it, you really should. So that's all I have to say on that book. I will leave it there. I hope I don't get censored or taken down because I said a specific word that I know that people are very touchy about nowadays. So we'll see. But thank you so much for watching if you watched all the way through. I love reading and I love making books. I love making books. Maybe one day I'll write a book. I love making videos about the books I read because I like putting my thoughts out there, because sometimes I get responses back and I would love to hear any responses from anyone who watches this video. Even if you haven't read the book, maybe you watch this video and say, hey, that does sound kind of interesting. Maybe I'll read it. Who knows? But I'd love to hear from anyone who has watched this video and what they think about reading the book or if they have read it. So please let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I do release videos every Friday morning, and in case I do end up having the time to release more videos during the week, you will get notified if you subscribe to my channel. So do that. Like this video, and if you enjoyed it, definitely comment because I love to hear from people. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.